One of my fondest memories from childhood is probably the most exciting thing that I remember is when I was some friends from Peoria, Hank and Emmy Lehman, asked me to accompany them and their daughter Alice to Chicago to see Sonia Henney. Was the world champion ice skater then, and we had front row seats, and we stayed at the Palmer House. And this was really uptown stuff. It was exciting.
I would imagine it was probably when I got to play uh, football and basketball as a freshman. My first time as a freshman. As far as I can think, I mean, that would probably be the biggest thrill of my life.
I got along very well with my siblings. They treated me like a princess. I was the only girl for so long, for 10 years, and they protected me. They I had a wonderful childhood. I really had a wonderful childhood. I don't remember all those teenage years that were bad that people talk about. It was just great. Well, I'll start out. Maybe it'll come. I would never be like my mother and or father in the way that they I might say the way they sacrificed for their family, but I kind of feel like I did that too. I really don't know, Casey. I had such great respect and admiration for them. Never did hear them argue. Ever. Never heard a cross word between them. Um, I don't know.
I never would be like. I'm not. I can't think of anything that I wouldn't. I mean, I, I I I don't know of anything that I would change from them. I mean, in them. I mean, my dad, maybe the fact that he didn't live long enough, but I mean, that's nothing against him. But I can't think of anything that I didn't like about them.
They, there were 9 of us children. My dad um, didn't have, I mean, he had a job, of course, but nothing spectacular. Most of my friends' families were more wealthy than ours. Um, and yet they tried so hard to let us, for each of us to do what our friends did. I mean, I had piano lessons, and that was a big expense. But Mother thought that I should be rounded out, that I should have that. And they would do without so that us kids could have things.
Oh yeah, sure.
What are some of your better memories of getting in trouble?
Let's see. I shot my brother accidentally. I didn't aim at him. He was about a block away, and I shot him with a BB gun. I had to shoot up in the air, and just by luck, I guess luck, it hit him. And he went crying home to Dad, and my dad got the razor strap out. I got a couple whacks, and I remembered. And that happened quite a bit. I mean, things like that, you know. That's what kids are. They get in trouble.
No, not really. Although I can remember one time I was supposed to go with my friends to a lake. Pat Allen and I don't know who. Pat Allen's parents had this cottage and they invited 3 of her friends to go. And I went out. Was on a date with a guy they didn't like, and I stayed longer than I should. And they said, "You are not going on that vacation." And I cried and cried and cried. High school, they did finally let me go.
My wife and I don't know, three or four other ones skipped school our junior year when senior flunk day they call it, and went to Peoria. And when we got back to town, just happened the principal saw us, and he called us into his office the next day, and we got reprimanded pretty bad for skipping school. But I mean, we did things like
My mother were my parents strict? My mother gave me one look and I wilted. I do not ever remember being spanked. I don't really remember of my brothers or my sister being spanked. Maybe they were, I don't know. Um, they always said, you get in trouble in school, it's going to be worse when you get home. I felt they were a very, very loving, strict, if that means anything. They got, they could control us with love more.
that. Yeah, well, pretty much. My dad was strict, but he died when I was 14, no, 15 years old, just 15 years old. I was 14 or 15. And so, I mean, I don't know that much. I mean, how he would have been later on. That's when you'd say they're more strict than that. But my mom, no, she wasn't too strict. I mean, of course, she never, we were kids, and to be tell us to do something and then enforce it, we weren't. Be hard to do sometimes.
Yes, I did. I worked at Kroger's. It was a small little store where you went in and you waited your turn to be waited on. And behind the counter, we would go and get all the things that they needed. Some of those cereal boxes were way up high, and you'd have a thing that you would grab them with to get them down. I worked there on Saturdays, and then the summer between my junior and senior year, I believe it was, I started working at Woodbury County Abstract and Title Company for Edward and George Riley, and I worked all summer there, and then after school. And there was most of the kids in town would go to the canning factory and work, and I was going to go. I had applied there, and then they called me from the law office, and so I went and worked there instead. I always felt like I kind of missed something, not being with all the gang at the canning factory, and they were horsed around. And wait till Grandpa tells you; he'll tell you all about that.
I think the first thing, well, I I caddied out at the golf course until I was about, maybe 13, 12, 13 years old. From about, 10 years old on. In the summertime, and in the wintertime, we'd set pins up at the bowling alley at night and on Saturdays and that. And then, let's see. Oh, I went over to Peoria once in a while with my dad, and we'd work in the store there. I mean, doing just little odd jobs and that in the summertime. And then Paul and I ran the golf course for 2 summers. We did all the mowing and took care of the stand and watering the greens at night, stuff like that.
What'd you get paid?
Well, let's see. I think for caddying, if I remember right, we got about 15 cents for 9 holes for carrying a bag around there. And setting pins, I don't remember that. That might have been a dime a person. I don't remember. It's been a long time for that. And running the golf course, that wasn't a lot either. Um, I honestly don't remember how much it was. I know the first job I had after we got married, I got $50 a week.
Oh, what did I get paid? Like $5 a day. After school, I think I got $1.25 an hour. So that doesn't quite pan out, does it? I thought I got it $5 at Kroger's. I don't know. Not sure.
Foolishly, probably. uh, oh, I don't know. Usual things. Candy, going to a show, things like that.
All of us kids, when we worked, we gave the money to our parents. And then after we got out and had a regular job, we worked 1 year for our parents and gave them most of our paycheck. And so I didn't get too much money saved before I got married because of that. I think my life was easier in some ways than my grandchildren's and harder in other ways. Um, like I said, the money situation was always prevalent in our family, and we always had to watch. And my grandkids haven't had that. However, I think it was easier to grow up when I did. There are so they're bombarded with so many things. Uh, the drugs, cigarettes, liquor, AIDS. There are just so many things out there uh, that they could get caught up in. I'm so thankful that none of them have.
Mom, answer that. I mean, I think my grandkids have more things like cars and all kind of stuff like that than we ever did. But uh, I think we were happy with what we had. And I don't know, myself, I think we were better off in our time. I mean, with the people as they were and stuff like that. Um, just things have just, like I said before, they've changed so much. And it doesn't, to me, it's not for the good, it's for the bad. For them.
I think I'm better off. I was better off growing up then. Life was simpler. Of course, we didn't have all the things, we didn't have computers, we didn't have TV, we didn't have, so I'd have to qualify that in some ways. They have more advantages, but like I said, there are so many things out there to tempt them and so forth. And we used to have some good times. Oh, I'll tell you, the radio used to really be a big thing. When Jack Armstrong came on at 5:30 in the evening, we were all there listening, and that was a big deal. And we played family games more. Probably, I think it was a little easier to be closer as a family then, when there was no TV. So I'd say some ways good, some ways better, and some ways not. Well, when we go out as a group, we often went to the movies. Always included a stop at Michael's Sweet Shop. That's where the gang all hung out. Uh, Sometimes we'd go roller skating. Lots of times we'd go to basketball games and football games, and as I said, always we ended up at Michael's Sweet Shop for a cherry Coke.
Well, when we were younger teenagers, in the like 13, 14 and that, we played basketball. In all summer night, in the nights and that, we played a lot of basketball. And we'd also go roller skating around town. And go out the lake swimming. Well, too many pools down there. We couldn't go too much because it was during the war and you didn't have that much gas to drive to other towns and stuff like that, and your parents wouldn't let you anyhow. And stuff like that, I guess. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Getting an education was always important to our family. My Aunt Ida drilled this in us, and it was just always a burning desire for me to go on to school. This is so silly. My mother only went through a freshman in high school, and my dad only went through the 8th grade. And it used to embarrass me when I would fill out forms that I had to put down that that's all the education they had. And I look back, that was pretty dumb on my part. But it was important to me. I wanted to be educated.
Not much. We did, okay. I think my dad only went to 4th grade or 5th grade, something like that. But back in those days, you didn't. It wasn't as important as it is today. My mom never did go to college. She finished high school.
I went to college when I was 31 years old. My uncle Louis had died suddenly. He had at 43 years old, and his wife had been a teacher, and she just very neatly started teaching again. And I said to Bill, what a wonderful transition. You know, maybe I ought to do something like that. And he was in favor of it. And so at 31, I started at Eureka College. Had a free ride, just about. They were very generous, and I loved it. My classmates they didn't like the older students in class with them. They always said we were curve breakers. And we were there for a reason, and so probably we maybe did study harder and so forth. But I enjoyed my college years. I like those little pats on the back.
Yes. When I got out of high school, I went for 1 year. Decided I didn't like it. Too boring, so I joined the Navy. And then I went to college after, in 63, I guess I started again. After we were married, my wife and I both. She started 1 year and I started the next year. So, of course, it was kind of a must. I had a car wreck and had to, got a bad back out of it and couldn't do the work I'd been doing for 10, 12 years, and had to change something. So she talked me into going to college, and we both did. And taught school. Enjoyed it though.
Yes, some of my siblings went to college. My brother Bill come home from the service, and he started at Eureka College right out of the service, but I only went for maybe one or two terms. I'm not sure, not much. Sam didn't go. Paul went, and he had a plan. He had some scholarships and so forth, and went to ISU, and then he had to go to the Army for 2 years, and He was very dedicated. He now has a DED, a doctorate in education. My brother Bob went to college. He went to Bradley, and he has a master's, an MBA. My brother John didn't go. Am I going down the list? Sam, Paul, Bob, John. Lydia, she did the same thing I did. I think the fact that I did it, that maybe it helped her to do that too. She was older when she went to school. She got married very young, like at 19, and her husband Bill was in school, and so she worked to get him through school, and then she started teaching piano, gave piano lessons to help with the income, and finally she started taking classes, and she has her master's, as I do too. We both have our master's. And she started on her PhD, but she decided that wasn't what she wanted. My brother Jed went to school for a while. He also went to Eureka College, but and he could have been a scholar. He just wasn't interested. And my brother Ken did graduate from Eureka College.
Well, we didn't really date much. I mean, after in high school, we did. I mean, first, say first year or so, and then, but then after that, she repented and joined church, and we didn't, and I didn't, and we don't. In our church, we don't date. So I would say we went to singings and things like that together.
Usually, we would go to a show, or swimming, or to a football game. Of course, Bill was in all the sports, so I wouldn't go with him to the games. And we didn't date throughout high school exclusively at all. He had other girlfriends and I had boyfriends. But usually,
Does that make you jealous?
yeah, it hurt. I knew I wanted him from day one. So he apparently didn't want me from day one. Dating, sometimes we'd park, smooch a little. That's as far as it went. As far as I wanted to go.
What I look for in a mate, uh, looks. Probably at the time when I first did. I don't know. My wife, I knew her quite a while before we were ever married. I mean, we knew each other from about 12 years old and on. We first met uptown then. And I guess she's pretty much what I was looking for the whole time. Just took me a while to find out.
What did I look for in a mate? You know, I met my husband in 6th grade. And I fell for that stinker right then. And I never really changed. I dated many others. But he was always the one I wanted to marry. What did I look for in him? He was very athletic and involved in sports. And he was a gentleman. He'd hold the door for me and so forth. I looked for a man whom I would want to be the father to my children. He has someone with a sense of humor, but who would be firm with them and make them mind and so forth. And as I think about what I've just said, it seems like I'm more concerned about my children's needs than my own needs. But I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little more. We moved to Illinois in July of 1941, and we moved across the street where J.D. Shoemakers lived, and they were from our church, and they were very kind to us and had us over for lemonade and cookies. It was a hot summer day when we got there, and then all they talked about was Uncle Arts are coming home. Uncle Arts are coming home. I got so sick of hearing about Uncle Arts. I thought, who cares if Uncle Arts come home? Well, when Uncle Arts came home, that was Bill's dad, and so that's how I met him. They came home. Oh, they were coming. They were in Texas. Bill's dad had diabetes and was not a well man most of his married life, and they had been in Texas for his health, and then they were coming home, and so that's how I met him.
How'd I meet her? Well, the first time when there was a pumpkin festival there in Eureka, and it was at night, and there was I can't remember what it was, but we were both behind this one truck or some kind of a vehicle that they were going. It was kind of like a parade going there. And a whole bunch of us kids were like back of it pushing or something, and I was right next to her. And I never met her before that. They just moved out from Indiana. Of course, we were only about, I think, 10, 11 years old.
How was I proposed to? Well, you know, in our church, Bill and I were both converted members of the Apostolic Christian Church, and when a young man feels that he's found the woman he wants to marry, he prays about it, and if the Lord reveals to him, yes, this is who you should be with, then he goes to the elder and asks for my hand in marriage, and then the elder comes to me and says, Brother Bill wants to marry you, and so forth. So I think before that, though, we kind of talked it over. I kind of knew it was coming.
Was that normal?
I think pretty much.
I don't know. I asked her if she'd marry me. She said yes, and then we went to the church, but you're supposed to go to the elder first, but we didn't. We did. After that, I mean, we kind of understood. Then we went to talk to the elder about it.
My wedding, you know, I always dreamed of having a long white dress and the whole thing. And I'm not quite sure how I got the wedding dress that I did. It was, most of the girls wore a very light blue, and mine was a dark blue, and I'm not quite sure why I chose it. I was not happy with my wedding dress at all, and I chose it, so it's my own fault. The wedding was lovely. We had the reception at my parents' home. It was October 29th, beautiful fall day. It was so warm and pretty out. And as I said, we had the reception there. We served cake and ice cream. No, cake and punch, I guess. I guess the punch was made with a sherbet and so forth, and nuts and mints, and that's all we served at the reception. But then we had a sit-down dinner for all of Bill's and my aunts and uncles at my brother Bill Lehman's house. I don't know how many were there. Probably, well, I'm sure there were over 50. I'm not. And then we left on our honeymoon from there.
Was Grandma a beautiful bride?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She hasn't changed either.
About the wedding dress?
The wedding dress.
Did I tell you that my mother-in-law was with me? And, okay, this dress, it was a very smart looking dress. It was a beautiful dress, but it wasn't the right color. It was such a dark blue. One of my friends came to my house that morning, and we would wear our wedding dress to church in the morning, and I had it on, and she says, "Aren't you going to put your wedding dress on?" I mean, she didn't recognize it as such. And as I said, it was a beautiful dress, very smart looking, but it wasn't the right color. And it just wasn't brightish. So that was a, but
Did your mother-in-law like the dress?
yes. See, my mother and my mother-in-law both went with me, and my mother-in-law liked the dress. And if you had known me then, I wanted to please people, so I bought the dress.
Did your mother-in-law ever catch on that you didn't like it?
Yes, one time she said to me, "You never did like your wedding dress, did you?" She realized it, and probably felt bad about it. She was a sweetheart. I loved her dearly. We went to Florida. Kind of funny. We stayed at the Abe Lincoln Hotel in Springfield the first night, and some of our friends got wind of it, and they knew where we were going. And so when we got to the hotel, there they were, all grinning at us with the cameras and taking pictures. And that was okay for a while, but pretty soon Bill got a little tired of it.
First night we spent in Springfield, Illinois. And second night we didn't get too far. We got down to southern Indiana, I believe it was. And then on down, we ended up in Daytona Beach, Florida. Oh, that's where we planned to go all along, but we went to Daytona Beach because I'd been stationed down there the year before that. Well, in Florida, but I liked Florida because it was warm and everything, so we went down there. It was in November. So that's where we went.
Was this a tradition in your family?
in our
Or
friends.
Friends, yes.
Not really, but then I guess nobody really found out where someone was going. However, after they did it to us, they did it fairly often after that, and they made them buy them a drink and I don't know what all before they'd leave. So we got by pretty easy.
I guess getting my degree in college at my age that I was, um, it was rough, but we knew at the time, both of us, when we were doing it, that we were paying the bill and everything like that, so we had to do it. And I mean, when I look back at it, doing it at that age, it's quite a bit for me anyhow. Not your grandmother. It's, she was a valedictorian of her class in college. So, and I guess having a couple of good sons like I had, and all my grandchildren. We'd like to have a few more, both, but we didn't. But we got some good ones. So I guess that's a lot to be proud of.
Some of my proudest accomplishments are my two sons, my 5 biological grandkids, and 3, what's the term I want? Step grandkids. The fact that I did go to college and Graduated summa cum laude, no less. Got my master's degree. Um, I'm proud of the relationship that Bill and I have. We worked on it. It doesn't just happen. We have a good relationship. We have a good marriage. I'm proud of that. I think I can't say that I'm proud that I'm a Christian, but that's the most important thing in my life. And I'm so happy that I have found my salvation. And just hope and pray that all of my grandkids do too. And my kids. The greatest advancement in my lifetime. I'm sure it would have to be the computers. I am I'm concerned that I don't know more about computers. I feel dumb. I intend to try and change all that. I think possibly if we bought one and put it in the home, our home here, that would get me onto it a little quicker. But it's just mind-boggling to think even how they send, I can't think, the fax. They send pictures over the line. It's really exciting. It's exciting and perhaps a little scary. When I think of what a computer can do, and I think of the Lord, our God, who knows everything that's going on, the hairs on my head are numbered, and He knows all of this, and so the computer has made this a little more believable to me that He could do this. Does that make sense?
I'd say the knowledge, the explosion of knowledge and everything all over the world, it's just unbelievable. Um, you can talk to people and everything like that, all over the world, anytime you want to, at just a minute's notice. Of course, that's the way it's supposed to be, but just like that, I mean, and when you want to find something out, you just turn on their. I don't know that much about a computer, but I know that others can just turn it on, and the second time they know just about anything they want to find out. So I guess that would probably be the biggest thing. Its downfall is uh, morals, ethics, things like that. I mean, our I don't know that much about the people in other countries, but in our country, it just seems like we've just gone down the drain, just especially in the last 20, 30 years, just terrible. I really feel sorry for the kids of today. I mean, if it continues like it is now, or it has been in my lifetime, and it's probably going to continue faster yet the way things are going, I feel sorry for our kids. I really do.
The greatest downfall to our society has been the sexual revolution. I don't know if revolution is the right word, but the looseness with which sex is treated in this day and age. Consequently, AIDS. That and it bothers me deeply that all of the gays and lesbians are coming out of the closet. I guess I'd like to just think that this wasn't really going on, but the sexual mores of our country are very low, very bad, for want of a better word. And I think it tinges everything we do, our whole society, and that I think is the greatest downfall.
What, if anything, I would change? Uh, well, right now, one big thing. I would never touch a cigarette in my life. Never. And any kid who ever thinks about it, he's completely out of his mind. Of course, I had uncles that told me the same thing when I was 17, 18 years old. But I didn't listen to them either. And kids won't listen to me, but if they could just live in my body for just one, well, I'd give them an hour or two. I don't think they'd ever touch a cigarette. Never.
I probably would I probably would have tried harder to be able to go to college. At the time, I felt like finances being what they were with our large family, that I couldn't. But as I look back, I know there were some scholarships available, and I really wanted to go to school then. And I think I would, had I tried harder, if and even if someone in at the high school, someone would have given me a little boost, I think I probably would have pursued it. But as it was, I didn't get to go to college till I was 31. I never thought I'd see the day when. I never thought I'd see the day when I would graduate from college. That was high priority, a dream fulfilled. I wanted to be a teacher. And it happened.
Ah, yes. I never saw the day when. Mm. Well, I can't think of what to say on something like that. I mean, right offhand like this. What to say?
I wish I can't tell you. I'll cry. Let me catch myself. I wish there was some way I could help my husband breathe easier. I wish there was some solution to this problem. It really tears me up when I see how he struggles to breathe. I'd do most anything to help.
I already answered that. I wish I could go back and undo things that I did. One in particular. Yeah, I already answered that.
My biggest regret in life. Don't I have too many, Casey? Which was the biggest? I guess, yes. My biggest regret in life is that I don't feel that I was always fair to both of my kids. As a, I don't know quite how to say this, but I do have regrets. Our son Bill had trouble learning to read, and I think he has had dyslexia, but nobody knew what that was then. And he worked very hard for every good grade he got. Our son Edward, he just sat there and it went in by osmosis. Consequently, report card time was a bad time at our house because Ed made all A's without much trouble, and Bill worked very hard for his B's and his C's. Now the strange thing is, Bill is now has he's a college graduate, has 2 or 3 master's degrees. I mean, it had to be something in his makeup. But anyway, I would play down report card time. I would try to boost Bill and play down Ed's, and that wasn't fair to Ed. But at some point in time there, I think Ed decided, hey, you get attention if you don't make such good grades, and he quit studying. And I didn't handle that right. Something's wrong with what I did there. I don't know. And I don't know if I really want this on tape. Do you think I do? I think I'll start over. My biggest regret is how I treated our boys. They were such good friends when they were little, just the best friends. Eddie just worshipped Billy. So much so that when I asked Eddie what he wanted for what kind of a birthday cake he wanted, he said he wanted a lemon meringue pie. And I said, Ed, you don't even like lemon meringue pie. I know, Mom, but Bill does. So they were this very, very close. And somewhere along the line, they grew apart. And I feel like I probably didn't handle it right. I don't know. Today, they're getting closer, and it just thrills me no end. They're getting closer again. Okay, World War II. This happened when I was, it started when I was, I believe, 14 years old. We, it was, we had a great sense of patriotism. I can remember being home from school, sick, in bed, and I had my radio on, and the Star Spangled Banner was played, and I stood up, got out of bed, and stood up. A great sense of patriotism. We were a country that united. Rosie the Riveter, I mean, we all worked for the war effort. We sold war bonds. Well, we sold war stamps. They were 10 cents a piece, and you'd paste them in a book, and when you got enough, then you could buy a war bond. It made me very aware of my country. It was a sad time when my brother had to go to service. The war ended before he really got into it, but and of course the rationing. You could only buy, you'd have a stamp for shoes and sugar and flour, and it was different.
I was too young to serve in the military at the time during the war. The war was over before I was old enough at all. I mean, I had no brothers or sisters in it. They weren't old enough either. And really, I can't think of too many people at all. I mean, of my relation there now, who would be close to me that were in it. So I mean, it didn't really affect me that much. I mean, there were some things we had to do without and everything, but I mean, it wasn't really that big a deal for somebody my age anyway. So I really can't. It wasn't that much. Yeah. I mean, I'm not for killing or anything like that, but had they not dropped the A-bomb, I think we would have had quite a few thousand more of our men killed before the Japanese ever surrendered. So, what's the lesser of the two evils? Getting our people killed or Japanese people? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm not for killing or anything. And, but, given those two things, I think they were just
I believe that America was justified in dropping the A-bomb. I believe that it saved a lot of American lives. Uh, we were always told that the Japanese were very sneaky and would fight to the bitter end, be snipers in trees and so forth and so on. And the Japanese started this whole thing, and I'm sorry for all the people who were maimed and killed, but yes, I think that we were justified. I my I walked across campus one noon hour, and everybody was standing around and crying, and I says, "What's wrong?" And they said, "President Kennedy has been assassinated." It was a feeling of disbelief, sorrow, great sorrow. I felt like he was doing a good job. You know, it was pretty controversial. He was a Catholic, an elected president, but I felt he was doing a good job. And of course, I love Jackie. And to see the way she stood up under all this was something, but most just disbelief and regrets and sorrow.
It's just a sign of the time. I mean, what was happening, things starting like that, getting worse and worse. And they just shoot the president. And, I don't know. Just,
Who do you think shot Kennedy?
who do I think shot him?
Who was behind it?
That, what's his, Oswald, Lee Harvey. I mean, they got all kind of conspiracy theories and everything like that, but I don't know.
Who do I think shot JFK? I suppose Lee Harvey Oswald did. Although, I mean, I think he did, but maybe there was somebody else that shot him also. I I can't feel that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. I think there was more to it than that.
Any idea who may have been behind it?
Who? I don't know who else would have been behind it. Maybe even our own government. I don't know.
I think it started out the spread of communism to stop the spread of communism, and I don't know if it did any or not, one way or another. A lot of people killed, and I don't think we'd had to go into Korea either when you look back on it, but that's hindsight. I don't know at the time.
I really don't know what the point of the Vietnam War is. I don't know. It was never. It was nothing. The feeling among the people was nothing like it was with World War II. I mean, people were divided. We didn't. Many people thought we shouldn't be there. I don't know. I think it was pointless. Maybe. I don't know. Landing on the moon was a very big historical event. Um, First of all, to see Shepard go up in that little bitty thing and see him splash down and being rescued.
It to me it was quite an accomplishment to get a spaceship or whatever to go up there to the moon and everything. I can't see any big advantage out of it. I mean, you can't live on the moon. I mean, so what good is it? I don't know. I enjoyed playing golf when I could with some of the brothers down here, Ken and Ed and Ralph and ones like that, but not all the time. I'd like to do some traveling with your grandmother. I like, which is kind of hard to do right now. And just to spend more time with my grandkids and if doing things. I mean, I can't do things that I would like to do with them and that. But if I could, there's a lot of things I'd like to be doing.
Like what?
Like what? Um, well, one thing that I would really like to do is get a couple of my grandkids to go with me on a trip. Man, I don't care how far, on motor scooters. I just love that. I really would. My wife too, but I don't know. That's kind of out of the question, but things like that.
Oh, wow. 50 more years of great health. Oh, I'd have a ball. I would. I would travel. The first place I'd go would be Rome because I haven't seen Rome. And, oh, enjoy the time with my children and grandchildren. And then I'd have great grandkids to snuggle and cuddle. And I probably ought to be doing something for mankind if I get 50 more years here. I might be tempted to go back to teaching for a while or to start some kind of a business. I have this, I've dabbled in a couple things. Right now I'm selling herbs, sort of. I'm not really working at it too hard, but I would like to be a successful businesswoman, I think. I know I would. So I'd devote some time to that. Just enjoy life, I guess. 50 years, wow. I'd be happy for 5.
Oh boy. Where it's any worse than it is right now. I mean, just I don't know. You think you've heard them every day when you hear the news or read the paper or something like that. You think you've heard. Boy, it just can't get any worse than that, but it does. It just seems to do. I mean, there's nobody has any value of life anymore. It seems. I mean, not anybody, but too many people. Life isn't valued at all, and we just can't go on this way. We just, I don't know. I don't know how it can't last much longer. I keep thinking, but it seems to.
I fear my grandchildren will live in a world where God is no longer important to most people. I fear for their spiritual well-being more than their physical well-being. And yet, I think they're on. I think they're. I think they've got it all together. So they'll probably come through. What advice would I like to give to my future generation? Of course, you know God is very important to me. So I would want them to have a close relationship with God. I feel that the family has to take precedence again. I think our nation has lost a lot since the family is so torn apart. We have to get along with our brothers, whether they're black, white, yellow, or pink. And so there's work to be done there. I should have some just really wisdom to impart here, but I'm hitting a blank. Unto thine own self be true, I guess. Yeah, that's what I'll say. Unto thine own self be true. That's kind of my Bible verse.
To our future generations, get as close as you possibly can to the Lord. And don't leave him. Stay with him. That's the only hope we have.
The most important thing to me is my family, and I'm concerned for their salvation. My daily prayer is that someday we'll all be in heaven together. I've told God that I would give up anything, including my life, if it would help. You're all precious to me, and hope someday to be in heaven.